What's up, YouTube? We will be reacting to the victims of Steph Curry. And yeah, let's get into it.
Stephen Curry is viewed as one of the greatest players of all time, and is also seen as a very humble guy who rarely gets into fights with other players on the court. But there has been a select few who tried to get under Curry's skin, and they end up paying the price.
He's a fierce competitor, I'll tell you that, so don't get fooled by that smile when he come up here.
He's a true competitor. They think he a little light-skinned dude, but he like a real competitor.
Most of the time when people are so good or something so perfect, so to speak, people don't like that, and that's exactly what you get with Steph.
And by the end of the video, you'll see why it's not the best idea to go against the greatest point guard of all time. Starting
Greatest
with
player
man
of all
whose
time.
whole career has been cursed by Steph Curry, Chris Paul. Today, there is no doubt that Stephen Curry is a better player than CP3, winning 4 rings and 2 MVPs, while Paul has none. However, it was not always seen this way. In fact, many thought Chris Paul would finish with a better career. In 2008, a 22-year-old Chris Paul was the top point guard in the league, being selected to the All-NBA first team and coming second in the MVP race, while Steph Curry was just a skinny sharpshooter from Davidson, preparing for the 2009 draft. So after his insane 2008 season, Chris Paul was set to play in the Beijing Olympics. But before that, he helped his Olympic teammate LeBron James with his training camp, which had the top college players in the country. And guess who was there? Steph Curry. So little did Chris Paul know at the time, but he was training a player that would make his life hell in years to come. Nevertheless, at the time, Steph posed no threat to him, and the two shared a great relationship. Before Steph's rookie year, he went on a family trip to Disney World with Chris Paul's family, even attending each other's weddings.
My wife was at his wedding. I think him and his wife was at our wedding, but we known each other for a very, very long time, man.
But then, Curry started to become really good on the court, averaging 24 points and 9 assists on insane efficiency. The sudden rise for Steph was great for his career, but other players hated him for it, especially Chris Paul. Everybody in the Clippers, Chris Paul was one of those guys. Chris Paul was somebody Curry looked up to. Chris Paul used to dominate that matchup. Chris Paul was supposed to be next in line to win a championship. Then suddenly it was Steph. That's another relationship where Curry was like, oh, I look up to you. And suddenly there is a division versus Steph. There's a lot of those. During the 2014 playoffs, we would see Chris Paul get the best of Curry for the very last time, when the Clippers bet the Warriors during the first round in 7 games. And since then, Curry has gone on to win 4 championships, while CP is still chasing his first. And to make it worse for Chris Paul, when he finally had a team in Houston that were on the verge of winning a ring, he got stopped by Curry once again.
Our offense was so potent, like we was just nice, like clicking. Who gave us problems, bud?
Teams and switch.
Golden State.
And this is when we saw CP's frustration come to life, as in the 2019 playoffs, when the Warriors were up against the Rockets in the West semi-finals, Curry wanted to get some shots up the night before Game 6. However, Chris Paul caught wind of the situation. So when Curry arrived at the court, there was Chris Paul putting shots up. Curry offered that they both practice half court, but Paul wasn't having it. Then Curry was kicked off the 2-yard center court, and by halftime of Game 6, Chris Paul's pettiness looked like it was working, as Curry would go scoreless in the first 2 quarters. However, in the second half, he would have one of the best performances of his career, scoring 33 points and getting the win over the Rockets.
But I gotta ask you about the whole game kicking Steph off the court. So I'm saying you booted him off the court. That actually happened.
No, that never happened. But it was a good story.
It was a great story.
Yeah, me and Steph actually talked the next day. You know what I mean? So it's
Stop lying, bro.
You know what I mean?
No, that's the other meeting.
You just mad you sorry.
Steph actually talked on the court before I shot. Like we was out there and we was kicking it, but it is what it is.
And Chris Paul's reputation of lying to the media is pretty much confirmed once you hear what Curry said after Game 6. Draymond Green was closely taking note of the situation between the two and shared his thoughts on the matter concerning Steph and CP3.
I don't like CP at all. Like, we don't have a good relationship at all, but I respect his hustle and I respect his IQ. He's smart as hell. And CP was kind of using, like, CP saw Steph coming up. And, you know, once you start to get older in his league, you start to realize, like, okay, this guy is coming. Eventually, he may catch me because I'm going to start to decline at some point. And so I would kind of see CP kind of keeping Steph at bay, but yet fucking giving him a stiff arm at the same time. Now, Steph, Steph is Steph. Like, we all love Steph, right? He ain't cut, like, he ain't got the street part to him. And so...
He ain't confrontational at all. He ain't confrontational.
Exactly. So with me coming from where I come from and the way I grew up, I'm kind of watching like, yo, he kind of rock with you, Steph, but he kind of don't. He kind of keeping you at bay. And so I took it upon myself to try to create fucking division there.
In 2023, when Steph and Chris were matched up, Curry proceeded to get an N1 basket against CP, then yelling, "This ain't 2014 no more."
Steph saying something to you about this isn't 2014 anymore. I guess after he scored a layup on you. I don't know what happened in 2014. That in the playoffs, what happened?
And not long after Chris Paul was traded to the Warriors, joining the same guy who has been a major factor in why he has no rings, which has not only affected his career, but also his family, as he stated that his daughter gets bullied at school over his championless career.
Like, my daughter is the sweetest soul you'll ever meet in your life, right? The sweetest soul ever in your life, but she's at that age now where at school, kids talk crazy to her, right? So she had a little boy, whatever, at school that said some reckless stuff to her. It was like, your daddy ain't never gonna win no championship, right? And my baby was so, she's special. She hold it together there, but when she got in the car, she called. And she was upset.
His time in Golden State was short-lived, only lasting one season. But during that time, the two veterans were able to squash any tensions they had, and now have nothing but respect for each other. Although Chris Paul and Steph Curry had the chance to squash their beef when they teamed up in Golden State, the same cannot be said with Ja Morant. In 2019, Ja Morant was drafted second overall, and coming out of college, Ja was seen as an explosive guard with insane athleticism, which made him a breakout star. And once he entered the NBA, it only got better, winning Rookie of the Year. And as each year passed, not only did Ja get better, but the Grizzlies did too. By Ja's third season, he was averaging 27 points and 7 assists, and the Memphis Grizzlies were the second best team in the West. However, things weren't going to go too well for Ja and the Grizzlies for too much longer. Even though Ja grew up in a very average American suburb with two loving parents who have always supported his basketball dreams, once he got a taste of that NBA lifestyle, he wanted more, becoming a wannabe gangster. Allegedly punching a teenager at his home, threatening a mall security guard, and having one of his friends point a red laser at the Pacers team bus. As the best player on the Grizzlies, his reckless behavior would naturally become part of the team's identity. With the young squad becoming the most egotistical team in the league, Steph and the Warriors had to put them in their place. The Warriors and the Grizzlies faced off in the West semi-finals. After the Grizzlies' Game 2 win, Ja walked by Curry, stared him down, and said, "We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some fun." Then, after the Grizzlies pretty much destroyed the Warriors in Game 5, Ja led the Grizzlies in 7 chant.
That shit is so lame, bro.
But by the end of the series, the Warriors made it through, winning in 6 games, and Ja tried to play it cool while talking to Draymond. But we all know how he was really feeling. The next year, Ja still hadn't lost his attitude, saying something that still haunts him to this day.
I'm fine in the West.
After a fan suggested that a Grizzlies-Warriors Christmas Day matchup is all but guaranteed, Ja then said, "Nah, in the M, bring him to the trenches." Draymond responded to Ja, "The champs play at home, young. Christmas Day. I'm coming to you then. Tell him book that shit. I'm on your block." And even though Curry didn't play
that
on
shit
Christmas
is so
Day against
corny,
the Grizzlies,
bro.
it's definitely worth mentioning because the Grizzlies got absolutely humiliated. This game was expected to be a blowout, as the Warriors were short-handed. No Curry and no Wiggins, but for the Grizzlies, they were in full strength. This didn't stop the Warriors though, with Draymond trolling Dillon Brooks as he misses a free throw, Clay staring over Dillon Brooks, and Draymond blocking Ja and then screaming at him. The Warriors won by 14, finally putting an end to their rivalry. Although Curry wasn't as involved in this rivalry, the next one is widely regarded as the greatest of all time. Today, LeBron and Curry are both great friends, and friends to enemies to friends again. And it all started when Steph was playing at Davidson. During his stellar play for Davidson in 2008, Curry caught the attention of LeBron James, who came to watch one of his games. And in this game, Steph dropped 44 points, which definitely impressed LeBron. But LeBron still had no idea that he was watching the very player who was going to stop him from winning multiple championships.
Yeah, Stephen Curry. Yeah. I think so. I think he knows how to play the game of basketball, of course. Being the son of a former NBA player, Delco, he was taught well how to play the game of basketball. So he has a talent. It's good. It's good. I was impressed. Like really good against a very, very, very tough defensive mind in Wisconsin. And I think we all know how tough Wisconsin defense is.
Like Chris Paul, LeBron was friendly with Steph early in his career. As the night before they faced off for the first time, LeBron invited Steph to his house. When you're on the West Coast, you only get one trip to Cleveland. So I'm in the hotel, night before the game, and he hit me and was like, "You want to come to the house?" And his house was in Akron. So I hopped in a taxi, head down to LeBron's house. Hung out with him that night. He had a little bowling alley in his basement. Did that. Bryce and Bronny were running around the house, little kids.
The relationship started off great at the beginning, not to say it was bad at any point. It was great when I was in NCAAs, right? Exactly. He came a couple games, and then he invited me over his house my rookie year before we played Cleveland, and he was in Akron.
But as Curry started to get better and better, the relationship between the two began to crumble. In 2015, he didn't just take the MVP award, he also took the championship. And in the Warriors' first game back in Cleveland the following season, Curry was asked about being back in the building and his memories from winning the championship, saying, "Obviously, walking in the locker room, it'll be good memories. Hopefully it still smells a little bit like champagne." But the Cavaliers team didn't like this and viewed it as disrespectful.
When we finally hit a horn sound, we in Cleveland celebrating, change was off. All right, who knows what's about to happen from here.
You know what's dope when they went back and played next year? He said he smelled that. You said he said it. Oh yeah, he said it. Locker room still smell like champagne.
That little bit of asshole shit talking to him, but he just covers it up with a good image. Yeah, that shit was slick as fuck. I was looking like shit. Oh, he's an asshole. That shit was funny as a motherfucker.
The following season, Curry snatched the MVP from LeBron again, but in a way we have never seen before, becoming the first unanimous MVP in league history. Something that LeBron narrowly missed in 2013 by just one vote.
I also had an opportunity to be, I would have been the first unanimous MVP when I got all 120 votes. When I got 119.
Do you know who the one vote was?
Yeah, I know. There was the one vote was voted for Carmelo.
Was it right or not?
No, it was a writer from Boston.
Boston.
Of course.
Boston with a Boston.
Of course. I know his name too, but I ain't gonna give you that like you shit. I'm wait for the doc on that one.
Fuck is Ice Spice there? What the
started to
fuck?
explode, passing LeBron in jersey and shoe sales, and there was a lot of tension observed between the two. Even people close to James often scoffed at Curry's rising star. And the resentment LeBron had for Curry would be on full display after the Cavaliers came back from a 3-1 deficit to beat the 73-9 Warriors in the finals. After pulling off that historic championship run, LeBron made it his life's mission to troll the Warriors, wearing an Ultimate Warriors shirt after arriving back to Cleveland. And when he hosted a Halloween party with his Cavs teammates, he had some interesting decorations that included a 3-1 sign and tombstones that had Steph and Clay's name on them. When asked about the party, Curry said, "I'm just going to keep it quiet." But after this, LeBron would never win a ring against Curry again, as Steph and the Warriors would beat LeBron in their next 2 matchups in the finals.
Those 4 straight years, Cleveland versus Golden State, like if you wasn't wearing wine and gold or you wasn't wearing yellow and blue, like it was literally like East Coast versus West Coast. It was like a rap beef. Golden State owned the West Coast and the Cavs owned the East Coast. Like a rap beef.
And watching our 4 years, the finals brings out, it's like the crescendo, obviously, of everything that they just talked about. And that idea of the rising tides, raises all ships. And it's you carry that all year. Off-season workouts, you might think it's just a pure, I'm just here working on my game, but in the back of your mind, his face is in your head. Kyrie fate, like you're thinking about who you're gonna have to beat to get to the ultimate goal, and you can't shake it. And in the moment, it does mess with you a little bit because it can change your attitude on a day-to-day basis, or it can trigger you for no reason. But it brings the best out of you too over the course of the year. And I wouldn't trade those experiences for nothing because it's the ultimate, competition. It's the ultimate adrenaline. It's the ultimate test of who you are as a person. And I feel like it's something we'll cherish for a long time, just because of how much and how long we carry that, for sure.
And during their intense matchups throughout the years, they showed how intense these games were.
NBA pettiness is, I'm going to be the sacrificial lamb for your leadership.
Making their finals record against each other 3-1. However, since the two stars have become older and more mature, they constantly show respect to one another, playing the All-Star game together and for Team USA in the Olympics. No matter whose side you're on, we can all agree that they have one of the greatest rivalries of all time. And when they're both out of the league in a few years' time, that's when we'll realise how much they meant to the game. However, Curry and LeBron being the best players of their generation, it only makes sense that they had a great rivalry. However, one player who is nowhere near as good as these two, but continues to trash talk Steph Curry, is Jaylen Brown. When the Warriors faced off against
Ain't
the
nobody
Celtics
worried
in
about Jaylen Brown,
2017,
bro.
Curry did something to rookie Jaylen Brown that we don't see often, pointing and talking trash. After Curry put Jaylen Brown in a blender and hit this three to end the third quarter, he then started pointing at Brown, saying, "I own your ass." Then signaled with his hand that he was talking too much. But the fact that Curry rarely gets this heated, Jaylen Brown must have said something, right? Well, according to Jaylen Brown, no. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't open my mouth. He hit a good shot. It was cute. Let's keep playing basketball. And also added, that was disrespectful. We'll see them again. But other players in the league have noted Brown engages in on-court trash talk. Just listen to what JJ Redick had to say.
When we played in London, Jalen was guarding me for that game. At one point in the second half, I had no cuff on the show, I'm sorry, but he called me. I looked at him and was like, I don't play that. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
And Curry wasn't done with Jaylen Brown, as in the 2022 finals, the Warriors beat the Celtics, with Curry winning the finals MVP, having one of the best series of his career.
Yeah, Steph Curry is really good. And if you guys haven't noticed, he can shoot the ball unbelievably. Even watching it, playing against it, and even in the finals, I feel like he's taking it up a notch a little bit.
Not only was Curry dominant in the series, but he talked a whole lot of trash. Like when he hit this three over Brown, then lunged straight over to the Celtics bench and yelled, "I own this place." Or while the Warriors were down 2-1, Curry said this to the Celtics bench.
So we sitting there, and he just like, enjoy y'all last one. Drop the mic. That was game 3, and I was just like, that's like it's 2-1. Like, what you mean? Like I'm sitting here like this. I'm like, man, what size am I? Like, I need my ring size. He couldn't lose, bro. He couldn't lose that series. Yeah, he said that, and I was just like in my head, I'm thinking like this kept me up at night. I'm like, did he? No, he didn't say that.
If you thought Jaylen Brown would have learned his lesson to not rile up Steph Curry, you'd be wrong. In a matchup between the Warriors and the Celtics in 2023, Curry was playing terrible, missing shots, turning the ball over, and getting blocked, racking up only 10 points by halftime. By the third, he committed his fourth foul, and to make matters worse, Jaylen Brown did this.
Hunting Curry playing with 4, draws the foul, and scores, and says he's too little. 5 fouls against Steph Curry.
This is so weak.
Is cooking.
But Jaylen Brown hadn't realized what he had just done. He's thinking he just secured the game for the Celtics, put him up by 12, and gave Curry his 5th foul. Even the Celtics Twitter page got ahead of themselves and posted this. But all of this would come back to haunt Jaylen Brown and the Celtics, because all he did was poke the bear. What was once a 17-point lead, Curry led the Warriors to a 6-point victory, scoring 20 points in the fourth quarter and overtime, while Jaylen Brown only scored 4. Apart from these few beefs, Curry has had a few short back and forths with a number of players, and one of these times,
Yeah, Dylan Brooks didn't even deserve to be in the
Steph
video.
do have a bit of a history, with numerous times where they clashed on the court. because Pat Bev's role as a player is trying to get under players' skin by talking trash, exaggerated defense, even injuring opponents. And Curry was no exception, although Steph didn't think this worked on him.
What do you notice what Patrick Beverly does to try to get under your skin? How do you try to handle that in passing approach?
Just play basketball. That's what we're out in the court.
Nobody worry about Pat Bev.
Antics and all that kind of stuff is likely to happen. Nothing distracts me from playing basketball. So, historically speaking, it hasn't worked, and I'm going to continue to again, just play basketball.
When Kawhi Leonard and Paul George signed with the Clippers in 2019 and were looked at as one of the top teams in the league, Patrick Beverly was so confident in the Clippers that when he was matched up with Steph Curry, he told him, "You had the last 5 years. The next 5 years are mine." Steph replied with, "Aren't you 31?" And as we all know, Patrick Beverly's statement aged like milk, as the Clippers played well below expectations in their 5-year run, not even making it to the finals once, mainly because Kawhi and PG hardly played. Meanwhile, Curry and the Warriors won a championship in 2022. However, Pat Bev does deny saying this.
The famed quote of Pat Bev saying, "The next 5 years are mine," never was said and never happened.
Nah, just Clippers. We just put the monster team together as we thought. Right? As we thought. Looking back on it, it was like, no, you had your time, and now it's time to switch it up. It wasn't never like a 5 years or but it was good.
Yeah,
so
he
you know,
lying.
I'm like,
He
okay,
lying.
all right, let me run with this. Like, okay, cool. Like, the internet is the internet. Like, they played out the way it's supposed to play.
And Patrick Beverly described how hard it is to guard Steph.
Do guys in the NBA go to sleep early the night before playing the Phoenix Suns? Hell no. No.
You mean as a team, or would you talk about Chris Paul individually?
Chris Paul individually.
Okay.
No. I'm going to Steak 44 over there in Phoenix. I'm gonna have me a nice little wine, probably sweat it out, and but the pregame shoot, I'm gonna get ready for Chris Paul. Steph Curry, I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock. Mom, don't call me. My girl, don't call me. I'm locked in right now.
But it might come as a surprise that Pat Bev and Steph Curry have actually been friends since they were kids.
You know, Steph like a brother. I don't really talk about relationships with, the people I do have in the NBA, but, freshman year in college, roommates, USA team, roommates, sophomore year in college, Paul Pierce camp, roommates, LeBron James camp, roommates. These are
He went to
things people
Davis?
don't know, but, we've been knowing each other since we were pups, so it's crazy, I got kids, he got kids, and finally talking about the boy he had, he been trying to have, and, so.
If we have learned something in this video, it's that when you trash talk Steph Curry, you're going to regret it. And Kevin Porter Jr. found this out the hard way. A 21-year-old Kevin Porter Jr. decided to stare down Curry while he was in a slump. But all he did was poke the bear.
Definitely bring another level of competitiveness when fun stuff like that happens in the game. I take it all as entertainment, and sometimes you need a little boost.
At the time Kevin Porter stared at Curry, Steph only had 16 points in the third. And for the last month, he had been shooting 29% from three. But after that incident, Steph went ballistic, scoring 24 points. 21 of those came in the fourth, helping the Warriors seal the victory over the Rockets. And since we're on the subject of trash talk, one player who talks a whole lot of trash, but most of the time gets humbled, is Julian Newman. And I think you'll be surprised to find out what he's doing now. So click on this video to find out why.
YouTube, that's gonna be it. I appreciate y'all boys for watching. Deuce.